So the second question, what type of work? Well, very specifically, it has to be work that's related to your major. That means if you're a biochemistry major, then it should be work related to be a biochemist, or biology, chemistry, things of that nature, or science related. If you're in finance, then the work you do should be finance related. So for the third category, how long can you work? Now, let's talk about the time period for CPT and OPT. Let's talk about OPT first, since OPT is what the majority of students will be using. Now, for OPT, you have a maximum of 1 year of full-time employment that you can use. So most people apply for OPT at the end of their academic studies. So 90 days before their last semester will end, you can file for optional practical training, and it will last for 1 year from the date that you cease going to school. Even if you receive the approval later, let's say you receive the approval a month after you graduate. Well, that means that you only have 11 more months to work. Let's say you receive your OPT approval 1 month after your studies have finished. That means you will only have 11 months left. So even if you haven't secured a job and you have to go out and look for a job, the time period that you have will only be until the 1 year anniversary of when your studies ended. It is not when you go through graduation ceremonies. It is when your studies end, okay, whether it's before or after the actual ceremony. In addition, if you have a major in a STEM major, science, technology, engineering, math, then during your OPT period, you can apply for a 24-month extension of time to extend your OPT. But you have to first apply for OPT and be approved for OPT first. Now, if you do OPT during your studies, first of all, you cannot apply for OPT until you've studied for at least 1 school year. After that, you can then apply for OPT. Any amount of time you use OPT during school, 1 month, 4 months, let's say you do 2 months of part-time work under OPT at 20 hours, 20 hours a day, 20 hours a week, then that would be the equivalent of 1 month of full-time OPT. Therefore, you would only have 11 months available if you then waited until you graduated. Now, the difference between OPT and CPT is that under CPT, you can only work during the period that you're in school. And it must be work that is required as part of your major. So in other words, OPT it has to still be related to your major, but it's not something that's required. If you're an accounting major and you decide to work at an accounting firm, then it's related to your major. But if, on the other hand, you are in a course where part of the curriculum is that you must work at, let's say, at a co-op, because you need that for your major, then in that case, that is what's called CPT. Now, CPT, you can work as much as you want under CPT, but CPT, since it's part of your curriculum, the expectation is that you're not going to be working full-time as you would if you're doing OPT. However, in addition, there is no limitation on the amount of time you work on CPT. You could, if your curriculum requires it, then you could be working from your first semester or second semester until you're graduating. However, typically CPT as well, you would apply after 1 year. Unless, again, your course of study requires you to start working from the minute you are in school. Then that's different. In addition, with CPT, one limitation is that if you work 12 months of full-time work in CPT, then you are no longer eligible for OPT. And one other item regarding OPT is that OPT is available for 1 year for each level of study. And what that means is that if you get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and then a PhD, then for each level, you can work 1 year of OPT. So if you graduate with a bachelor's degree, you can work 1 year of OPT. And then you go into a master's program, then you can work another year of OPT. Then you go into a PhD program. At the end of that, you can do another year of OPT. So OPT is a continuation of your student status. It is optional practical training for your major. So it is possible that if you are planning to do a master's degree, that you work or you go to school, you get your bachelor's degree, and you obtain OPT, and during that 1 year while you're working, you are also applying for master's programs. And then when you get into a master's program, then transition over into the master's program so that you don't lose your status, or you leave for a very brief time after between your OPT and your master's program starting. So that's the difference in time for OPT and CPT.